Okay, so next up will be to tackle the steering, and as you can see we have quite a lot of play in the steering wheel. So we need to open up here and access the steering mechanism inside and see what we can do. So this is how it looks like inside, and next step will be to open up to the steering mechanism here to see if there is any obvious problems inside. So to get the steering mechanism out, I think I'll need to remove this whole pedestal or whatever you call it. It's already starting to get quite late, so I think I'll continue that another day. But at least we know better how it looks like right now, which is good.
Now we're gonna continue and make a new attempt of getting the steering mechanism loose.
Okay, we need to disconnect some stuff here. So you can see some of the play we have. We also have some play in the... This upper bearing seems nice for this shaft, but the lower bearing there is some play in as well. But we haven't really decided if we're gonna... One way would be to remove the whole pedestal, but we might actually... I'm not sure how the design is made, if it's possible to drop the shaft down. We have space to be able to drop the shaft down. So we will maybe see if we can do that. And this is the input shaft, so this is where the steering wheel sits. And then this pinion drives a small quadrant that then continues through the rotational movement through a tube through the steering pedestal. But this one has quite some... it's a bit hard when it's not attached there, but there's quite some play in the shaft here. There are some bearings in here. I'm not really sure exactly how many, because it's been a bit difficult to identify the model. I think it's a Whitlock King Cobra MK3, or potentially a Whitlock Cobra 5R Deluxe, I think. Anyhow, at least it's a 30mm shaft, metric, and it has this oil seal instead of some felt washer thingy. Anyhow, I think we might know more when we take this apart to see how many bearings inside. But what I'm a bit worried about is that it might not just be worn bearings. It might be so that the housing is worn down, because it's hard to see where the play is, but it looks like it's actually the whole bearing moving, not just the shaft. That's a bit more complicated, I guess. Also, it might be so that the rack, so that the quadrant part of the steering is a bit potentially damaged, because there are some small pieces of, I guess it's some aluminum bronze or something like that in here. But we haven't been able to inspect that one yet, because then you need to take try to take the whole pedestal out to be able to access it. You can also hear this. Anyhow, let's try to start to open it up and see what we find. So this is what it looked like inside. It's very hard to see, but there's definitely some movements in the internal ring of the bearing here, so that's promising. Okay, so I managed to get the first bearing out. It was actually sliding out more or less by itself, but now there are two more bearings, one in here and one up here. And as they are both, I mean, not completely blind, obviously I can access it from the other side, but I don't really have any good tool to drive it out with. I tried to remove the complete cage on this side, so now the bearings are spinning freely, and the idea is that if I can now place them all in one side, I should be able to start to remove them and then get the inner race out. and then potentially I can get this, it's very hard to see, but there's like a clamping brake thingy in between there. So normally if you have the pedestal open, you have a threaded rod in here that clamps the shaft to lock the steering wheel. And I think that maybe if I get the inner race out here, out, I can get this one out, and then I can drive the other bearing out from this side, and then eventually drive this outer race from the other side. Let's see. You can also see that it's really messy here. I mean, it's just it's been rusting a lot. Okay, so the idea kind of worked out. I managed to remove the inner race of the bearing on this side by moving all the bolts in the bearing to one side, and then I was able to remove this internal bronze something brake ring, and then expose the bearing on the other side so I could drive it out from this side. That was quite easy. The problem now is that now we're stuck with this outer race of the bearing where we removed the inner race, and I was expecting this, not sure if it's possible to see, but the notch in the housing to be a bit not as big, and I definitely didn't expect this thing to be here. So now it is a bit tricky to get this race out, because there's not really any, cannot really access. I mean, obviously you could have this one of these inner bearing pulley thingies attached here, but I don't have any of those. And yeah, so I think I might try to weld the washer or something, and then use the glide hammer to pull it out. It's really a mess of cables here. So I'm back under the steering pedestal. I'm trying to remove the steering linker as part of removing the pedestal, because we need to replace some bearings in the pedestal, as both the input shaft and now it also turns out that the main shaft of the steering pedestal has some play in it, and we need to replace some bearings. And to do that we need to disconnect this steering link from the lever arm and the main shaft. Initially we thought we might be able to pull this shaft down, but I think it's not possible to do that. You cannot disconnect it from the top, so you need to take the whole pedestal off the boat and do the job. Yeah, and obviously then we need to disconnect this joint. So that's what I'm gonna try to do today. We tried to do it before, but initially it was stuck. But we had some other tools today, so let's see if we manage to do it. Okay, so that turned out to be trickier than expected. I didn't manage to get it off. Okay, so I put some penetration oil on now, and hopefully it will make it come loose easier next time. It's a cold day today. So I managed to get the steering pedestal out of the boat, and I'm not sure if it's possible to see it here, but anyhow, this shaft that goes through the whole pedestal has some play in it, and I think it's at least the lower bearing here that is bad. To get the shaft out you need to cut this piece off. Feels a bit weird that you have to do that, but that's actually written in the manual of it, that's the way to take it apart. I guess we'll continue this later. So back to the steering system. I managed to find a company that might be able to supply a new quadrant, as ours is a bit worn, and hopefully it's not crazy expensive. But in the meantime I'll try to disassemble everything else so that we can change the upper and lower bearing for the main shaft as well, because that's needed. We need to change that one as well. The problem is that the lower bearing housing is very difficult to get access of the actual bearing. So as you can see, the bearing is in there, but there's no real, I mean, the hole here is more or less the same size as the shaft going through, so there's no real access to the bearing itself. So I think I'll try to just drill, either take a hole saw and just drill this hole a bit bigger, or make some holes on each side so I can tap the bearing out. I think I'll go with a hole saw idea actually to start with. I don't see why this hole is not bigger, and then I can use a hydraulic press to press it out as well. So I'll try to set this up and drill it out. I also managed to tap these pins out that holds the quadrant. They're in these holes here, but from the other side. And those need to go out to be able to take the quadrant off and then take the bearing holder and the bearing off. But I need a hydraulic press to take this one off, because I don't want to damage the quadrant if it's super expensive and we need to stay with this one. But as you can see, I'm not sure if it's possible to see on the camera, but it's quite worn down. It's obviously just in some locations, but this is not nice. I would really prefer to replace it. So the status of the steering quadrant right now is like this. So we have the new gear quadrant, nice and shiny. All new bearings. Obviously you don't see them, but you see the bearings on the steering shaft. It was very I mean, you could move this whole shaft around before. I did one mistake though. I forgot to put on a locking clip behind here, so I need to take this seal off, which most likely will damage it and break it, so I need to buy a new one as well. Put on the clip and put on the new seal. I finalized quite late yesterday, but I need to put shims on the shaft here to get the correct distance between the gears. So, testing our steering for the first time with the renovated steering pedal.
Yes.
How does it feel?
Feels really good. It's very smooth, and there's like no glitch almost. Before it was a lot.
It was a lot of play in the steering, and also the whole steering wheel shaft was loose, kind of. The bearings were completely gone. We need to fix some proper end stops of the rudder. That might be one of the reasons why this one...
Or the old one fell.
Yeah.
And our new wheel as well. Second hand, but new for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit smaller than the other one we had.
I think this is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Next up is to finalize the shimming and then weld on the lever at the bottom, and then we will mount it back to the boat.
Such a nice warm day. We have prepared some piece of wood that we're gonna see if the height of the arch we're gonna build will be good or not. And since we have the tarps, it's like really warm inside here, even though it's not that warm outside. What do you think?
I think it's good. It's very hard to tell, but I think it's good. Okay, so our steering pedal still is put back together, and it's time to weld back the lever arm that connects the rod to the quadrant of the rudder.
We arrived to the boat, and now we're gonna get this thing back together. Quite windy today, but we are protected under the tarp. What's the feeling?
Very rigid and stiff compared to before. Before everything was like all over the place. I think the size is really nice as well. But I mean, before it was out here almost. You couldn't pass. Now you can definitely pass.
Compare it. Because we have the old wheel. There's nothing wrong with the old wheel. It's just that we thought it was a little bit too big.
It's huge. And of course, I mean, from a sailing point of view, of course you get better feeling in a big wheel, but I think this will be really good. And also another thing is that, I mean, all the forces on the bearings and stuff will be way less the smaller wheel you have as well. Because you need to apply more force to the lever arm.
The pedestal back in place.
Just missing the wheel.
Yes. Time to seal the leakages we found for winter. The attachments for the jack lines. Now it is time to remove this one, the old Dutcher, so we can soon take the doghouse to the boat and test it. Let's hope it comes loose easily. All gone. Looks naked. The plan right now is to
Sand down all the teak that we haven't had access for before.
Or we have had access for them.
This part, yeah, but not all the way in. You can see the thickness difference here. Look at it. From what's being outside compared to what's being not outside.
Yeah, but then we're gonna do the rest of the teak that we didn't do after we did removing all the screws. We haven't finished that job, so we're gonna do that now. So in order to remove these small screws that held the old Dodger in place, we need to remove this piece. But I probably think that's a good idea anyway, and we can clean underneath and reseal it and everything. Here we had a lot of dirt and a spoon. Now we're gonna remove the old pole for the radar, because we're gonna have the arc here instead.